And we are glad in it. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Monday, July the 15th, 2024. And wherever you're watching us from, it's important for you to know we are live right here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. You're watching the Ramon Preston Show. If you're coming on, joining me live, please do me a quick favor. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and tag Lolly Dolly everybody. And let them know your boy, Ramon Preston, my squad, we're all live here in the beautiful Buckhead community of Atlanta. And today we're going to be talking about the transformational power of a holding company. The transformational power of a holding company. Please do me a quick favor, by the way. Put in the comments what city you're watching us from. Let me know where you're watching us from in the comments. Of course, if you have any questions, feel free to put the questions in the comments. My team and I will be watching the comments, and we want to answer whatever questions you have about starting and structuring a business, a holding company. Maybe you have questions about your products, your services. You might have questions about integrating systems, processes, whatever the questions are, we want to answer those questions. For those of you that don't know, my name is Ramon. I'm the host of this show. I do my best to show up here every Monday through Friday as frequent as possible, unless we're doing something that I can't do it. You know, if I'm with a client, if I'm out looking at real estate, then I'm unable to come here live. Otherwise, when I'm in the office and here, 12 o'clock noon Eastern Standard Time, we show up on this show to share information with you, to give you the information that could really help you properly start, properly structure, so that at some point you can scale your business. So today we're talking about the transformational power of a holding company. Hopefully by now, if you followed me for any amount of time, you should know what a holding company is. It is the parent company. It is the main company that you're using to hold other assets. In a perfect world, if me and you were talking and you told me that you had an idea for a business, you had a product you wanted to sell, a service you wanted to provide, and you were interested or thinking about starting a company, my first response to you would be, before you start the operating company that will sell the product or that will provide the service, I would say start your holding company, HC for holding company, LLC. I would say start your holding company, use that company as your parent company, use it as your legacy company, use it as the house or the hub, or from a business building or enterprise building perspective, I would say use it as the foundation to expand and grow. Okay, this is the transformational power of a holding company, because number one, it properly positions you to stay at the top of your organizational chart. It mentally positions you to think like an asset manager, so that you're not just scrapping and struggling and grinding and getting into the weeds of everything for the rest of your life. And so this is the perfect picture that I would paint for you if you had an idea to sell a product or to provide a service. Now, of course, if the product and the service was something that needed to be separate from the holding company, then we would set up other entities, that's the square box, for you to run that business through. If it was some type of idea that was more intellectual in nature, like if you had an idea to coach people or to consult or to educate, perhaps you could package those intellectual assets into products and services, but instead of creating separate entities that are here in the square, the round ones could be symbolized as divisions. To simplify it, either way, I would say for you to have a holding company, whether you have the round of symbols as divisions or whether you have the square boxes as subsidiaries, this entity structure is the perfect structure for someone who wants to build an organizational enterprise. Now, today's show, I'm talking about the transformational power of a holding company. Why do I think holding companies and the concept that supports this type of structure of a holding company, why do I think it carries or it possesses transformational power? Well, many reasons, but I'm going to just break down a few why I believe the holding company and the concept that it represents carries or possesses transformational power, because it takes you or it transforms you from an employee, from an entrepreneur, to a legitimate enterprise builder. This is the transformational power of a holding company. Because again, if you just look at this diagram, if these were LLCs that sold products, let's say, I'm gonna put P there for product. If these were LLCs that provided service, I'll put an S. Well, you standing at the top of the mountain of this enterprise or this structure, it automatically mentally positions you to be something beyond the product pusher or the service provider. Most people who get into business, meaning that if you have an idea and you set up your LLC, most people who do that across the board, they go into that business thinking like an employee. They go in there thinking like an employee. As a matter of fact, most of the business owners or the people that start LLCs, they start them at a time when they still work a job. Some of y'all watching me, you already know, okay, I do have an LLC, but I'm on my lunch break right now. So that means you are still an employee owning a business, but the way you think a lot of times, you bring that thinking into this type of infrastructure, whether it's a holding company, whether it's an operating company, whether it's a side hustle, whether it's a network marketing company, whatever it is. Most entrepreneurs and business owners, they go into business thinking like, operating and acting like employees. So when you set up a structure like a holding company and then you learn the concept behind it, this is educational. All right, this is something that you got to get educated on, because I know a lot of people, they pay online platforms or they pay companies to set up their holding company. So now they got their paperwork, they got their bank account, they have other companies under their holding company. So they figured out the structure side of it, the legal structure side of it, but they didn't get the mental side of it. So what happens is they have multiple entities set up, and guess what? They still think like an employee. So the transformational power of the holding company, when I use the term holding company, remember, I'm not just talking about the legal structure. If you follow me enough, you know I'm not talking just about the legal structure. I'm also talking about the concept. I'm talking about the educational part. I'm talking about the mental shift and switch that needs to take place in your mind, not just in a entity structure, not just in paperwork, but in your mind. I need to believe what someone who has this type of structure believes. I need to think like someone who has this type of structure thinks. And so the transformational power of this structure, of this concept, of this way of thinking, it takes you from just employee or just entrepreneur to enterprise builder, which, by the way, most of us, if not all of us, depending on your background, have been through all these stages. Okay? Before I set up my company and my enterprise, I worked a job too. I was an employee too. All right? And then when I finally got the courage, and really didn't have the courage, I was kind of forced into entrepreneurship. But once I got to a point to where, okay, I'm no longer an employee, for a long time, I still got stuck as an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur to me is to some extent a glorified hustler. An entrepreneur to me is just someone who has polished up their hustle enough to be on their own, to do it without somebody else telling them what to do. But the average entrepreneur who may have a legal entity, they're not business owners, because there's a difference. I remember when I was working with this one CPA, and he was a teacher as well, and he used to teach me a lot about the whole structure of business, and not just the tax part, but the accounting part and operationals. He used to teach me and talk to me a lot about this. I literally used to go to his office all the time just to have conversations with him for free, by the way. I just wanted to have a conversation with him because I was fascinated with how he thought about business. But he told me one time, one of the first meetings we had, he said, "Ramon, you're not a business owner." And I was like, "What do you mean I'm not a business owner? I got my LLC." He was like, "Yeah, that don't mean you're a business." He was a straight shooter. He said, "Ramon, you're not a business owner." I said, "So what am I considered?" He said, "You're still considered an entrepreneur." He says, "Because there are certain things you have to do, certain milestones you have to hit, certain fundamentals you have to understand, and you got to build into your day-to-day activities as an entrepreneur, basically in order to graduate into being a legitimate business owner. Of course, that means you want to generate a certain amount of revenue, you want to have employees, you want to have a staff, you want to have a team, you want to have systems and processes, this whole list of stuff." But that was the first time somebody told me that, okay, you're not a business owner just because you have an LLC. You're not a business owner just because you got a card that says CEO. You ain't no business owner just because you got a website or because you got a trademark or because you got a logo. None of that means you're a business owner. It just means that you got good ideas that you're putting a lot of money in and time in, but it doesn't mean you're a business owner. And so the transformational power of this structure, this concept, it kind of forces you out of being an employee. It kind of forces you out of being an entrepreneur, and it really forces you into becoming an enterprise builder. It forces that out of you. Why does it force that out of you? Well, just from a structure perspective, if you just look at the structure, this structure is going to automatically force you to be more responsible. Because if you have one LLC and you have some operational divisions inside of that LLC, and God knows if you have other LLCs that this one LLC owns, from a structure perspective, it forces you to think like an enterprise builder, because now you need QuickBooks accounts, you need some systems and processes. Otherwise, you're going to wake up every day and you're going to feel like you're all over the place. You're going to be like, "Lord, I got 4 different bank accounts. I got 4 different product lines and service lines that I'm trying to get situated. I don't know where to start marketing. I don't know what name I should be marketing first. I don't know what approach I should take, what my message should be." In other words, everything this is challenging you to do is literally complex and difficult for an employee. It's even difficult and complex for an entrepreneur, but it becomes easy and simple and understandable to an enterprise builder. So that's just from a structural perspective. But let's think about the concept. This holds a lot of transformational power because of the concept. So the concept behind this, it forces you, number one, to accept that if you don't know how to run this type of enterprise or this type of entity structure, now it forces you to accept that you don't know enough in your current state. It forces you, or it challenges you at least, to think about how can you grow as a person, because you are limited in what you understand. You're limited in what you believe. Otherwise, you just stay stuck as an employee. Otherwise, you start a business and all you do is just work that business the way you work your job. You never think outside of the box of working as an employee inside of your company. That's why a lot of people who start businesses, the only difference between the job that they have working for somebody else and is the job that they have working for themselves. That's the only difference. But they still have a job. Now they own the job, and it's even worse when you own the job, because now you're not even guaranteed a paycheck. At least if I have a job that somebody else owns the business, I can be guaranteed a paycheck. When I own my job, okay, I might be able to do what I want to do and go where I want to go, but really I can't do and go where I want to go and do what I want to do because I ain't got no money to do it, because now my paycheck is dependent upon me not just working my job, but actually running my business. So it's even more difficult. So conceptually, you have to learn the ins and outs. You have to not just learn the mechanics of running an enterprise, but you really have to, how can I say this in an easy way? You got to grow up. I'm just trying to be nice as I can. You got to grow up. You got to grow up. You got to put your big boy pants on. You got to tighten up. You got to put your big girl pants on, and you got to accept the fact that, okay, I don't know enough. I don't know enough. And because I don't know enough, I need to be open and humble enough and eager to learn. And a lot of times it ain't going to just be me following somebody on social media, including Ramon Preston or anybody else that you follow. It ain't going to be enough just getting bits and pieces of information here and there. No, it's going to require me to humble myself and accept the fact that I don't know enough. Everything that I'm telling you right now, I went through this. I've gone through these things. And it was hard for me to get to a point to where I accepted the fact that I didn't know enough. I'm being honest with you. It was hard for me to get to that point because I thought I knew enough. I thought I had enough in me to be successful and to have a business that could grow. And I didn't. I didn't know enough. I wasn't enough in terms of being an enterprise builder. I'm not talking about self-esteem being enough. So let's differentiate that. So when I say I wasn't enough, I'm not saying I wasn't enough of a man or enough of a human or enough of a good person. No, I wasn't enough of an enterprise builder. That wasn't about my self-esteem personally. It was about my capability, my capacity professionally. I needed to grow up. I needed to grow up. Does that make sense to y'all? I needed to grow up from employee, from entrepreneur to enterprise builder. All right, so now we've covered this. Let's dig a little deeper into the transformational power of a holding company. And remember, when I say holding company, I'm not just talking about structure. I'm also talking about concept. So remember that. Anytime you hear me talk about holding company, I'm not just talking about this little LLC paperwork you got. I ain't just talking about this little EIN letter you got. I'm talking about the concept behind it, the view, the perspectives, the belief system, the understanding of how this thing actually works in you and how it plays out in what you do every day in business. MJ said, it's so much to do alone, but with these teachings, I'm taking baby steps to cover all of it. How to notate all personal funds, put into the LLC, and can we get a copy of that form from somewhere else? How to notate all personal funds to put into the LLC. If I'm understanding what your question is, MJ, about notating all personal funds to put into the LLC so that you get a copy of that form from somewhere else, if I'm understanding you, that would take place inside of QuickBooks. So if you're taking personal money and you're putting money into your LLC, and you want to notate that or track that to have documentation, a paper trail to show how much you put in, what's owed to you, and what you get out whenever the LLC has money, all that takes place inside of QuickBooks. All your financial transactions and the accounting or the accountability of your finances for that business, or your personal engagement financially with that business, or that business's personal engagement, financial engagement with other businesses, all that should be taking place in QuickBooks. So for example, if I have 10 grand that I want to put inside of, let's say if I want to put $10,000 inside of my holding company and I've got 10 grand, the way I'm going to track that money is through QuickBooks. So I'm going to have that 10,000 showing up in QuickBooks as either an owner's investment, or if it was a loan, however I put it inside, most times it's an owner's investment, and then it's going to be in my chart of accounts inside of QuickBooks as a $10,000 owner's investment. So let's say a month from now, I take $2,000 out, then it's going to show my owner's investment went from $10,000 to $8,000 because I took two out. All that's going to be tracked inside of QuickBooks. Now, let's say if your LLC under your holding company, which is a subsidiary, needs $10,000, and you put $10,000 inside of the holding company. Well, the holding company is going to transfer that $10K into that LLC, and that will be an owner's investment from the holding company to the other LLC, just as it was with you to your holding company. So you track all your financial activities inside of a holding company. I mean, inside of QuickBooks. Like LLC loan agreements. Is it the same if getting loans from outside sources? Not necessarily. If you're referring to like documentation, I've never given my LLC a loan because I own it, so it's always been understood as a owner's investment, because I'm not paying, my company that I own is not paying me interest like it would an outside individual. So it's like, okay, I own my company, so I'm not literally loaning my company money. And again, I'm not a CPA, so I can't tell you what would be like the best way, or in your case, the right way. I'm just giving you, from my perspective, when I have money and my LLC needs money, my CPA has never told me that I needed to draft up a promissory note, make sure that there's interest attached to it. So if I loaned my LLC 10 grand, I'm going to loan it to them at a 10% interest rate with a payment schedule that balloons after 3 years or whatever. I've never been advised by my tax strategist or CPA to do that. It's always been, I got 10 grand, my company needs working capital so that it can run. I own the doggone company. So when I give or loan or make an owner's investment into my company, it is understood that the first money I take out of the company that's non-taxable would be the amount of money that I initially invested into my company. So that means if I invested as an owner 10 grand into my company, and then my company went out there and made money, and I took 15 grand, let's say 6 months later or a year later, I took 15 grand out of my company. Well, 10 of that was my initial investment that I recouped. The other 5 would be taxable owner's draw, which would be taxable for me, if that makes sense. So again, as far as you drafting up paperwork for the company that you own and having an agreement like that for you to pay it, for the company to pay you back, that's something that you need to talk to a tax person about or a CPA, because I've never been advised to do that. And again, if any of my companies under my main LLC needed money, they would get it from, I would just make that deposit, and that would be a owner's investment that I would get back whenever the company had the money. So again, back to the transformational power of a holding company, and we're talking about the structure and the concept to take you from employee, from entrepreneur to enterprise builder. This is where we want you to get. We want you to become the enterprise builder. We want you to stand on the top of that mountain as an enterprise builder. Well, the employee, if you go to the right here, the employee is typically the technician. The employee is the technician. And this is where you want to be transformed from. It doesn't mean you're not going to be the employee inside of your company that you own or the company that your holding company owns. It just means you need to be aware of who you are, what role you're playing, and where you should grow into. That's what it means. So the employee is the technical person. This is the person who's working for. They're working for the business. And this is most of us. I mean, to some extent, let me be honest. I've got a small team. It's only 5 of us here. All right. And guess what? I still think like an employee doing technical stuff, working for my company. There's still technical things that I'm still doing every day. So it's not like I've arrived and I've graduated and I'm just this enterprise builder. No, it ain't. I'm grinding every day. I'm still the technician. I'm still working for my company. Okay? It's not like I could just walk out of the office today and say, I ain't coming back for 6 months. That ain't happening, because there's still a technical responsibility that I have working for my company. But at least I'm aware of where I'm going. That's what I want you to understand. And if you don't have that capacity, if you don't open up because you have not educated yourself on the concept behind it, you're stuck. You're just an employee every day. Now you coming to work every day for your company and you just feel like, I'm an employee. I'm stuck. I'm tired of doing the QuickBooks. I'm tired of reconciling accounts. I'm tired of, sending emails back. I'm tired of calling people with customer service complaints. I'm tired of mailing letters out. Well, guess what? That's what you're doing. You work for your company, but at least you know what the next level is. The next level is entrepreneur. So now I'm an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurs are not technical as much as they're transactional. So now I have a transactional role to play. How do I describe transactional work as an entrepreneur inside of my business? Well, I'm working in it and I'm working on it. So that means I'm still selling. I'm still getting on calls. I'm still doing appointments. I'm still closing deals. I'm still servicing the clients. I'm still providing the actual service or whatever the things are. It's not as technical, but it's still working in and working on my business. I still have a responsibility to do that. And that's more of the entrepreneur. The goal is to get to a point where I'm the enterprise builder. This is the ultimate transformational power, because now I'm not working for my business or just for my business. I'm not working in or on or just in or on my business, but I'm actually working above my business. That's where you are right here. You are above your business because your holding company is above your business, and this is your business or your products and services that are being sold outside of certain intellectual assets that you package and sell. Either way, the goal is to transform into an enterprise builder who's working above the business at some point. This is the ultimate exit. Well, not ultimate. The ultimate exit is to sell the business and to move on and not have to do anything, or just, oversee the business and it runs on its own. But this is an amazing exit, and that should be the goal of everyone who starts a business. It's not the easiest goal, but guess what? Just listening to this conversation, being a part of this conversation, learning some of the nuances and ins and outs, and taking the initiative to commit to understanding this whole world of how I can transform into becoming an enterprise builder, working above my business, even when I still have to work in it, on it, or for it, but at least I know what my exit strategy is. That's the ultimate goal, and that's what you should all strive for. So hopefully today's show helped open your mind to the endless possibilities of what you can achieve as a small business owner. You do not have to be stuck as an employee or doing the technical work for your business. You don't have to be stuck as the entrepreneur doing transactional work in or on your business. You can at some point graduate and grow into an enterprise builder who's operating in a transformational level above your business, helping other people grow while they work forward, helping other people grow while they work in and on it, many of whom will stay with you for a long time because you're helping them build a life for themselves and they want to help you build your enterprise. So hopefully today's show opened your eyes. I would love to get some feedback from you, just, based on what you heard today. Did this help you? Did it challenge you? Did it provoke your thoughts to see and to stretch beyond where you are right now? You might be working a job right now. You might be thinking about pivoting into entrepreneurship. But I just encourage you, if being an entrepreneur, being a legitimate business owner is something that you strive to do, well, why don't you just start doing it and thinking about it the right way? I wish I knew this 21 years ago when my wife and I committed to being full-time entrepreneurs. I wish I would have thought about that 21 years ago. Like if I had access to this information to think like an enterprise builder, even though I would have had to be an employee working in my business or for it, in it and on it, it would have at least incentivized me a little earlier, even though I still would have had to go through a lot, but I would have at least been incentivized. So I want you to leave a comment in the chat. Let me know what you thought about today's show, what your biggest takeaway was. Give me some feedback. Of course, if there's anything we can do to help you, if you need more resources, if you need questions answered about what move you should make, what decision you should make, please feel free to reach out to us. My team and I, we are always here, and we actually have a free resource we want to offer you, just in case you have not taken advantage of it. You can click the link in the description of today's show. We have a free business assessment workbook. This workbook is a 17-page digital PDF that you can download, you can print out. We also added to this workbook some walkthrough video tutorials. This workbook that we use for our business assessment is a simulation of the 5-step process that we use here at Ramon Preston Enterprises when we consult and coach clients in real time, okay, in real life. And that workbook can really help open your mind up to some questions you need to ask yourself, what things you need to think about when you're considering putting a game plan together. And once you download the workbook, print it out, it may take you about 30 to 45 minutes to get through the entire workbook if you do it correctly, and the walkthrough videos that accompany the workbook. But once you get through it, you're probably going to have some questions. You're probably going to circle and highlight some things that you might have not clearly understood. When that happens, you can text the word strategy to one of these numbers, and we'll offer you a free strategy call. That means we'll answer any questions that you might have. We will give you some direction on what the next best step for you to take is. And that's when we can discuss other resources that we have available. We have an amazing educational and coaching program called the Millionaire Blueprint. It's a 1-year program, and we give you all the education. If you think what you're getting on this show is something, if you think what you get on a free YouTube channel is something, you have no idea that there's a whole world of information beyond that, and a community of people that you can connect with. Like tonight, which is Monday, right? Tonight at 7 o'clock p.m., like we do every Monday at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern, we're hosting a Millionaire Monday coaching call. That's one of the benefits you get from being inside of our community. And during that coaching call, we deep dive into certain topics and we give a good lesson, we answer questions, we connect, we collaborate, and it just does a lot of people in our community well. So again, if you have any questions, reach out to us. Maybe you have followed me enough and you don't have to bounce around from YouTube to some other platform or through the workbook. Maybe you're clear on what you want and that you know you need a coach, you need myself and my team in your corner to help you accelerate your business building process. Well, guess what? You can skip all the other steps. You can skip, deep diving and binge watching YouTube videos. You can skip downloading the free workbook and you can just text strategy or call one of these numbers and we can get on the phone. We can talk with you, answer questions, give you some direction on what the next step is for you and your business. So either way, we look forward to hearing from you. We appreciate you all for joining today's show. And we'll be back tomorrow. As long as I'm not in an appointment or on the field looking at some real estate, I'll be back here tomorrow. Same place, same time, 12 o'clock noon on the Ramon Preston Show. MJ said, great show. Now I'm wondering what levels of that do you keep when selling the company? Like, do you keep the operations? The new owners could lease? It just depends. It just depends. I'm still learning a lot about business acquisitions. Right now, I'm not participating in any active business acquisitions. So I'm very limited in what I can speak on, at least until I get the proof in the pudding. I'm involved in real estate acquisitions. I know all the ins and outs of real estate acquisitions, but when it comes to business acquisitions, what I can say from what I know is when you're selling a business or when you're buying a business, what is being sold or what is being bought is all negotiable. So the business as a whole could be sold or bought. Certain assets in the business could be sold or bought. And all of that is negotiable. So it just comes down to what you negotiate, what the terms are in that negotiation, and what someone is willing to buy. So here's something that I'm learning about businesses that I already knew about real estate. A business like real estate in most cases is only worth what someone is willing to buy. It's only worth what someone is willing to pay. So if I have intellectual property, if I have systems, processes, inventory, surplus cash reserves, if I got a physical building, if I got a warehouse, I could have equipment, all this stuff. And I could put a price to it based on my valuation or based on a broker's valuation or some other advisor's valuation, right? Well, that business, no matter how great it was valuated by me, by a business broker, by an M&A advisor, it's only worth what someone as a buyer is willing to pay. Because if it's listed and nobody buys it, it was not worth what somebody was willing to pay. So that's just my opinion, and that's the opinion of a lot of people who are in real estate and in business. But either way, it's all negotiable. So appreciate you all. I love y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow right here, same place, same time on the Ramon Preston Show. Enjoy the rest of your Millionaire Monday.